Hello, Sandra. Welcome to the Animal Turn podcast. I mean, this was such an incredible revelation in your podcast because, I think as folks who are interested in animal welfare, animal rights, we're quite alert to the fact of things like sea lice affecting farmed salmon. And you see many of these images. Anyone who's ever seen an image of what sea lice can do to these farmed fish's bodies, it's beyond horrific. Just how some of them, bits of their bodies have been eaten away by the sea lice. So it's pretty gruesome when you look at the images that are available of sea lice impacting farmed fish. But now a key thing in your podcast is you're saying, well, there are the farmed fish that are being impacted by sea lice, which is a big problem. But these are wild salmon that are also now being covered in sea lice. And there's a connection. I think throughout the podcast, you're following the connection now between and the battles between showing this connection between farmed salmon and wild salmon.
One of the really big mistakes that was made early on was at the time the BC government, rather than the federal government, was in charge of the fish farms. And right at the very beginning, they made a deal with the devil, perhaps. They came out to all of the fishermen in the area and the people and the tourism, the guides and that, and they said, these fish farms are going to come. We're going to allow them to come, but we want to protect the wild fishery, for catching fish and for tours. So can you tell us where the best fishing spots are? And we will make sure we don't allow the fish farms in those areas. So people were reluctant. They didn't trust the government, but they thought, well, maybe we should cooperate, save our livelihood. And they did. And then lo and behold, the fish farms were all put in the very spots. A fisherman has his secret spots, his best fishing spot. We're all put in these spots. And so that right away created a problem that the wild fish are going to be there. Yeah. And the farmed fish are going to be there. And when the sea lice move in and out of the pens into the open water, there are fish swimming by and they attach themselves to fish. So it took a long time for people to figure out the connection and how bad it was, and it's gotten worse and worse all the time. But that was one key decision that was made that really made the difference in what happened to the wild salmon.
But it seemed like making this connection was, I was quite stunned. Listening to your podcast was just, this was extremely political and at all levels of politics, whether we're speaking about local people, Alexander, what Alexandra Morton went through in terms of fighting this at every kind of level, having her name kind of thrown around and through the mud. And, she stuck with it. And she worked with, I think, local Indigenous groups to really fight this. And you speak about how Indigenous groups really swayed this fight at an important pivotal moments that they really drove home this fight. But then on top of that, you've got the federal government and you've got the BC government and you've got all of these different agencies that seem to be very much against having it widely known that farmed fish impact wild fish. Could you maybe walk us through some of those tensions a little bit?
Well, I think part of the problem was, this is just speculation on my part, but there were very bad years for the fish returning, the wild fish returning. And so they had years with the fishery was reduced. And there was a point in time when they bought out licenses. They bought out all the Indigenous licenses, fishing licenses, because it was assumed that the fishery was so bad and was only going to get worse, and everybody had to stop fishing. And so I think their thinking was this farmed salmon thing is going to be good. It's going to be, it's going to produce the fish. It'll have some jobs. People can work on the fish farms. They can work in the canneries or the hatcheries. But it seemed like they had the tunnel vision. And then because they worked right from the very beginning, they knew nothing. the bureaucrats knew nothing about salmon farming. The companies who'd come from Norway knew everything about it. And so the government relied on them for a lot of their information. And every time an issue came up, they would go to the industry and say, well, what, and the industry would say, no, 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 that's wrong. There's no connection. Or they would say, we're dealing with it, that kind of thing.